And this 4th of July marks the 7th anniversary of our leaving of the organization. The party, after we left the organization, has carried on a very slanderous campaign against us. So it's our bounden duty to clarify those allegations, for which I hold the previous state secretary and his wife wholly responsible. The whole problem started 2016 April. At that time, we were oblivious of the plot that was being cooked, the conspiracy that was being hatched. These things were not raised in the state committee when some youngsters came and told us what really happened. And what was our case reaction? My son has betrayed me. I feel as if I am stabbed in the back. But a few days later, after going home, consulting with wife, the entire version is changed. Falsehood starts spreading. Ask all the youngsters who have left SUCI in the last 5 years, you will get the complete picture. To counter this expose, RK started a conspiratorial act. In April, he started getting hold of 2 DSO comrades. When they tasted success, they took these issues to CK. And when CK did not fulfill their expectation, rather remained very critical of both of them, husband and wife, and the son, then a tirade started against CK himself. But a serious conclusion was drawn that cultural movement is harming, political activity is disturbed. Bangalore stood first in all collections. Bangalore was getting the brightest cadres. Why? Not only in Karnataka, at the all India level, those who became leaders, they all came from Bangalore. Bangalore had 3 working local committees. Today they have none. Not a single road was allowed to be widened by our movement. It was our credit. Has Calcutta, where party was born, conducted such a movement? Very same kind of tirade that is done against us is directed against them. You are supporters of Manjunath and Jayalakshmi. They are isolated. They are humiliated. Many people started telling, yes, I was also hurt. It is a kind of mass hysteria. What is the consequence of all this? The consequence is 56 people have left your organization since the time we left. Namaste, friends. I am Dr. B.R. Manjunath, speaking on behalf of Samakalina. We were all once working for Socialist Unity Center of India, Communist. And this 4th of July marks the 7th anniversary of our leaving of the organization. So on this occasion, we feel that it is very useful to look back, recollect what happened, and draw lessons from it. So this is a very useful exercise, purposeful exercise, and it will help all of us and even the SUCI, we feel. This has become necessary, as I said, firstly to draw lessons from it, and secondly because, contrary to the expectations, the party, after we left the organization, has carried on a very slanderous campaign against us, the details of which are becoming more and more known to us of late, when people who left the SUCIC in different parts of Karnataka have been meeting us and reporting the several slanderous campaigns that the leadership resorted to after we left. So it's our bounden duty to clarify those allegations and put the record straight. Secondly, we also feel it very necessary that the youngsters who left the party do not become cynical, unable to trust anybody, unable to understand which is the correct version. We feel, for the sake of even those young people who have left the party in great frustration and dejection, we have to tell the truth. It is also necessary for the people at large who are interested in us and who are interested in the party to know true facts as different from the campaign that the party has conducted. We left on the 4th of July 2016, but continued in the party for 2.5 months more on the persuasion of the central leadership, but finally severed the relations with the organization around 22nd of September. So what are the reasons for it? Nobody just walks out of an organization after having spent 36 years there. After all, I was in the top leadership of the party, both in the state as well as in the center. I was a staff member of the party. SUCI has 3 categories: applicant membership, then permanent membership, or red card, and then the staff membership. When I was in the party, there were only 28 staff members, and I was considered as one among them. And I attended several extended central committee meetings of the party. So, when such an important person has left, a proper version, even a written version, should have been published instead of this kind of slanderous campaign. Any serious political party, a communist party, publishes what were the reasons. If we have submitted a resignation letter, they ought to publicize even the resignation letter. They cannot and should not indulge in unethical propaganda against veterans, seniors, aged comrades who have served the party with distinction, and when they leave, they are to be treated with respect. These are the minimum things that political morality and ethics demands of a party. But very sad to say, that has not been followed by SUCI, particularly, very particularly, the Karnataka unit of the party, for which I hold the previous state secretary, let me call him as RK, and his wife, who is the current state secretary of the party, wholly responsible. And the biggest mischief monger in this entire conspiracy was their son. Now, is it our objective to only discuss individuals, while some of these important individuals also using some other important organizers as tools in a conspiracy, manage to create conditions where it would be very suffocating for us to stay and we would opt to leave. But they have also, at different stages, used and thrown out various people who are active in the party. So, we like not to name and shame them, because this is a public document. So many critical, sensitive, and personally very, very hurting things will have to be discussed, because we have been wronged, slandered. But as far as possible, to keep the exact names out is our preference at this stage. So I will confine by hinting only who they were, by giving them some pseudonym. Now, as for the various allegations that were made against us, I would like to answer them one by one. The whole problem started somewhere around 2016 April. At that time, we were oblivious of the plot that was being cooked, the conspiracy that was being hatched by the then State Secretary RK himself, aided, abetted, instigated by the present State Secretary. And various other conspirators played their role. Now, why it happened, how it happened, I would like to dwell in a little detail, and it involves personalities also. Now, let me first make it very clear that after 7 years, and after we have very well settled in our own life, conducting our own organizational activities, theoretical work, we are very happy with ourselves. We have no personal grudge to carry against anybody. That part of our life is past, over. But then, without any personal rancor, certain things will have to be mentioned for clearer understanding. The people who were involved in the conspiracy, RK himself was once a very good man whom we all respected. Just like us, he also came at a very young age to the party, around 78, 79. Perhaps we came a year or year and a half later, we entered the party. At that time, we appreciated many qualities of him. He was very patient with comrades, not at all bureaucratic. He was very sympathetic to the problems of the comrades. He was a very good listener. He could go on listening to them. And in his own way, he was ethical on many things. And in his personal life struggle, he was very clean. We learnt many things from him. He respected women very deeply, behaved very well with women. All these things, even at an young age, impressed us. And he was the best among us. There was no doubt. He was head and shoulders above all of us. at the incipient stage of the party. But this is only one part of the picture, and this phase of him is even now lauded, praised, and held very high among the comrades, creating an impression that he is infallible. They don't say it in so many words, but such an image is created. But slowly that image is getting shattered. People are coming out in large numbers from the party, and they are able to see many things that have gone wrong. Now, there were negative sides in him, and one is very palpable, which everybody can understand, that his political acumen is very low. Strictly speaking, he is not a person interested in politics. He has somehow come in some way attracted to the organization, maybe ethically, maybe because some want in personal life. He joined it at an early age. Maybe he was opposed to repression, oppression at home, outside. He joined the organization. Fine. We all come from different backgrounds, and for different reasons we get attracted to revolutionary movement. But once you come to the revolutionary movement and you become a leader, you ought to be political, immersed in politics. Sad to say, he never developed that acumen. He doesn't have it even now. His most important activity that he can do day in and day out is keep talking to the comrades on personal problems. This very practice of talking to the personal problems of the comrades continuously indicates certain basic problems of the organization. One is, you are getting around you people who are very helpless, people who are very indecisive, and you have a knack of making them more dependent rather than independent. So these endless personal discussions, comrades standing in queue, all this may make the comrade leader feel very important. It satisfies his ego. That is very important. People are waiting in a queue to talk to him. But the sad reality is that a political party should not become a counseling center. If there is a person who is deeply disturbed, better he or she is handed over to a professional. Counseling is the job of professionals. Party should concentrate on the ideological, political development of the comrade. Incidentally, here and there, a personal problem may be attended to. But getting people married, making relations, breaking relations, separating people, trying to handle husband through wife, wife through husband, these are all creating very serious complications inside the organization, requiring endless personal discussions. And when a leader starts liking it, he starts reveling in it, then it is a very bad situation for the organization. He can hardly engage himself in theoretical work, which is a very serious weakness in a leader. Of course, in the entire SUCI, the struggle to combine both real organizational work, meaning building organization, and theoretical work. This aspect, this task is very much neglected in the party. The intellectual and theoretical development of the comrades is very much stunted. When a comrade enters the revolutionary movement or leftist movement, everywhere I find in all political parties, they are very inquisitive, curious. But then they are made very docile, obedient. This is highest in SUCI because instead of the political party structure, it has now assumed the character of a cult, like a religious or cultural cult. It is a cult, a sect. So the atmosphere prevails and the leader likes it. He himself has never excelled as a good speaker capable of conveying the party line to the cadres or to the people at large. He himself is not a good writer. I don't say all these are essential qualities for a leader. But if you don't have those qualities, you shouldn't feel jealous of people who possess that quality. You will have to publicly keep admitting that I am weak in these things. You will have to publicly keep recognizing others who are better than you. That doesn't deny your leadership. That doesn't negate your superiority. That doesn't harm your authority. But he started developing these tendencies quite long back. Intolerance towards anybody who is talented, who is capable, incapable of appreciating others' work. All these tendencies, a kind of internal suffering started in the man. That made him intolerant towards others. very much interested in picking negatives of others, encouraging juniors to pick up negatives in other leaders, whereas himself posing as above negative qualities. These are the serious things. And at a certain stage, the person whom he married, the present state secretary, started exerting undue influence. If I were a party leader, I would never make such people whole timers. Simply, I would demand that they be sent for jobs. That is best for the health of the party. However, it was the mistake of our central leader, the Politburo member, let me call him as CK. CK made this mistake of encouraging her to become a whole timer, and he also, in a certain way, facilitated the relation, sanctioned it. Both of them became terrible sycophants of him, and he also started protecting them at every stage. How many times we found mistake with the party line or with the central leadership or with this particular senior comrade who was Politburo member, CK, in our Karnataka, in the entire South India. So many times these people rushed to help him, protect him. He in turn, whenever questions came on them, their behaviors, which was disturbing the entire party, he started protecting them. It was a symbiotic relation between them. Now, when did this relation get soured? Somewhere around 2008-9, after CK couldn't become the general secretary of the party, he went into depression, he went into psychiatric treatment, he became very dependent, his physical health also started deteriorating. Because perhaps this man was no longer that important in the party hierarchy, our state secretary started finding faults with him. And at that very moment, I also became a staff member, and this became both for husband and wife a very, very difficult thing to swallow. All these things at that time were not very apparent to me, but they are very apparent, very clear now. And then the other factor came that a son was born to them long back. And the son, right from his childhood, was pampered, very wrongly handled, unnecessarily projected. All his limitations were hidden. Now this boy grew up to a serious problem. He is still a serious problem. If anybody fails to recognize it, then they are absolutely blind. Now, these things were not raised in the state committee. They were not confessed to by the leaders, and they were not handled properly. We were asked to report it to the higher leadership. Whenever we reported to the higher leadership, this RK was called before the higher leader, that is the Politburo member. He accepted his mistakes. Sometimes he wept also, that why I could not detect the mistake of my son or my wife. But then after some time, you will find that the man is repeating the same thing. Again listening to the wife, again listening to the version of the son, and consequently changing his own version. Now these fights became very, very serious. And in around 2015 December, just before the 20th Street Play Festival of Avishkara that was organized in Bangalore, he took a batch of young fellows and went to Coorg just for revelry, just for a very ordinary type of enjoyment with all kinds of habits in which college students generally tend to indulge. Now, according to me, such things are not a crime. We all pass through teenage, we all pass through college days, and there will be many curiosities, there will be many errors, there will be many indiscretions. But what was most worrying was when some youngsters came and told us what really happened is that he was tutoring everybody not to reveal anything about the trip to any leader, including his father and mother, particularly to Manjunath and Jayalakshmi, because they are very critical of him. He taught them to lie. Not only that, he was revealing all the party's official secrets, stealing them from the father's computer. Or in the center, many times there will be loose talk, particularly his mother used to talk like that. Whenever he comes to know secrets of others' personal life, he will go out, he will call a selected youngsters, aged how much? 18, 19, 20. They will be talking about the personal life of leaders who is good, who is bad, all that. When these things got revealed to us, it got revealed because the boys and girls who are involved with him, they felt guilty. They came out very honestly and confessed that he has asked us not to tell anybody. He has taken word, promise from us, but we are unable to keep quiet. This has to be revealed. We took it up with Father R.K. And what was R.K.'s reaction? R.K. started weeping. 3 of his statements I will tell you, as they were, verbatim I will tell you. First is, he said that my son has betrayed me. Second, he said, I feel as if I am stabbed in the back. Third statement, I have handled many mischievous fellows in Karnataka state, but I am yet to come across such a problematic, devious person as my son. It is his considered opinion about his own son. But a few days later, after going home, consulting with wife, the entire version is changed. Falsehood starts spreading. So we had to confront. And by this time, the Politburo member whom I mentioned earlier, CK, now he is disgraced. He is deceased now. He is no longer there. This person was a sort of confined in a house. Nobody was to meet him, and I met him, taking permission from the General Secretary of the party. Now, suddenly I find that one person from Dharwad, who was with me, a leader, wanted to join me, probably afraid. The State Secretary from here has guided, go with him, see that he doesn't tell what is happening in Karnataka to CK. Second week, I met the General Secretary in Calcutta. And I told him what all has happened. He gave me a very patient hearing. We had a discussion of more than an hour or 2 hours, I don't remember. And he impressed me. He impressed me as an honest man and a good organizer. He located the problem and he said that you must go back and protect the State Secretary from these mistakes. You must help him to come out of his weakness. My wife Jayalakshmi is supposed to help his wife to come out of her weakness. A Herculean job indeed. Nobody can be confident about it. But the General Secretary is requesting us. I said, we will try our best. And we never spoke to CK about it. CK came in March, around second week. I think much water has flown in between. The General Secretary and the State Secretary of Karnataka must have been in constant confabulation, consultation. Now, when he came, after some time, the contradictions when continued regarding his son, between me, my wife Jayalakshmi, his wife, he became very much threatened. He started fearing that something grave will happen to his son. And one thing I must mention, that when this son was projected as a leader, both me and Jayalakshmi had definite reservations and definite objections. History has proved us absolutely right. Ask all the youngsters who have left SUCI in the last 5 years, you will get the complete picture of what happened and what is happening. We were opposed. When RK tried to make him whole timer, we opposed. I opposed. Even Jayalakshmi was not totally opposed to it, but I was very much opposed. I said he is not suitable to become a whole timer. The life of a whole timer should be one of hardship, facing difficulties. One should be very regular in work. One should not shirk responsibilities. One should be courageous, and one should be ready to lead a simple life. None of these qualities were present in the boy. He was not even transparent and honest. So, on these solid reasons, I opposed. But the Politburo member CK, he supported KR. They were all very much enamored by the dictum of the party that leaders should bring their children into the party. CPI, CPM leaders have not done it. It is our credit. Our leaders will bring. In spite of such a claim, all over India, many leaders, many important leaders' children, wives did not come to the party. So when they can present a model, they were very happy. And the ego of the father is involved here. He feels elated that in the entire central committee, nobody else's son or daughter has become a whole timer. My son has become a whole timer. And this son went around trumpeting with all juniors that you see, only one man of Orissa has brought his son to the party. At that time, he was not even a central committee member. But in the CC, except my father, nobody has brought a son as whole timer. Now, these are the petty considerations which were playing behind the decision to make this boy who was not worthy of becoming a whole timer. a whole timer. Opposed it, but all the three who were present in the meeting, that is CK, RK and Jayalakshmi, agreed with that. By majority they decided. I kept my reservations. Now when these problems came out very clearly regarding the son, the whole party should have been made aware. This should have been discussed in the state committee. It was a failure of the state committee. Such an important thing. This whole thing should have been discussed. But instead what happened? To counter this expose, RK started a conspiratorial activity. In April, he started getting hold of two DSO comrades, leaders in Bangalore. They definitely had some issues. We should consider that issue. That is one of the chief allegations. They said Manjunath and Jayalakshmi always say that they are very busy, they are all India leaders, they have multifarious responsibilities, they are not giving us enough time. Number two, when issues of movement have come, they have not been properly attended to. Number three, when newcomers have been brought, when their problems needed to be addressed, these leaders failed to do it. Now I say, such criticisms are very common in the party that can be made starting from the general secretary to all the state secretaries and all the leaders. We will all have some failures. At some time we overemphasize some things. At some other time we will not be emphasizing certain things. And some of them had multifarious responsibilities. Like I had cultural friend, medical friend. I was also asked repeatedly to help with the science and technology friend breakthrough, which actually initiated by me in Karnataka since 1985. So I had my hands in too many things. In DYO, the youth organization, then the party, different party units in Karnataka, like Chitradurga unit, Bangalore unit, and all that. Sometimes even Mysore unit. So obviously I was overburdened. We might have replied like that. That's no excuse. That's no excuse. We should own up our responsibilities. We answered these two DSO leaders. They went back happy. But within few days, they are again whipped up. They will come back with the old question. Once again raising the same thing. Any fool can understand that these children have been manipulated from behind. They were manipulated. When they tasted success, they took these issues to CK. And when CK did not fulfill their expectation, rather remained very critical of both of them, husband and wife, and the son, then a tirade started against CK himself. There were certain complaints against CK's personal life made about 4 years prior to our leaving of the party, meaning somewhere around 2011-12, first murmurs about him were heard. This murmur was shared by RK only with me, as far as he told me, only with me. Only we two knew. We both went and talked to CK separately. I came back satisfied. In fact, I was very embarrassed to talk to him. I came back satisfied. This man went to him, talked to him. When he came back, I asked, what happened? He said, okay, he explained. These people who have left the party are very nasty. They are creating some slander. But now, in 2016, he starts telling that I never believed that version totally. I was working from behind. I have done detective work. I have talked to many young comrades. I have found that the allegations are true. Now, how can in SUCI you be working against your leader, collecting information like this? Who authorized you? Did General Secretary authorize you to conduct such a behind-the-back investigation of a leading member? If so, both of you are guilty of a very serious lapse in discipline. If you hear any rumor, you are supposed to go and talk to your leader directly or to his leader. How can you start an investigation? Isn't it a violation of all methods and processes in the party? But he says, without a tinge of repentance, he says, I conducted investigation. I worked at the back of the leader, collected information. Anyway, he may say that it has served a great purpose. That is another discussion. Anyway, he did it. All right. That man was guilty. Whether he is as guilty as these people say, or whether there are exaggerations, too much of exaggeration, or there is some misrepresentation. Now the man is dead, And even when he was alive, these people by majority closed his mouth. So we never know what actually happened. But I have a feeling that there is truth in that allegation, because CK himself once wept to me. He said, I have committed certain mistakes and I am very sorry about it. I am repenting about it. But his repentance did not bring him any benefit. Till the time he died, these people did not reinstate him, they did not honor him, even after death. Even when whole India was honoring him, the Karnataka unit did not honor him. Why? Because they had created such a Rakshasa out of the man, that to speak anything good of him is now risky. Now, apart from the allegations made by the student leaders, what were the other allegations? The next most despicable allegation, serious allegation, is that there was an attempt to remove the state secretary from his position, taking the plea of son's problems. And Manjunath was behind it, and the Politburo member was supporting Manjunath in this machination. Now, if this be true, if you say this is true, it puts SUCI in a bad light. But what does this speak of SUCI? Even in other left parties like CPI, CPM, do you hear this type of stories? That there was a group squabble, that one person tried to remove another person, and a section of the Politburo or Central Committee supported Mr. A against Mr. B. Now, SUCI being the most genuine communist party, democratically centralized in the best way, carrying the advanced thoughts of Shivdas Ghosh on party building, how could it have a Politburo member who is conspiring against a state secretary? And he is working through the number 2 man in the state. Then it is a conspiratorial party. All right, if he has done conspiracy, how was this conspiracy handled? You should have simply brought it openly. And that should have been the chief charge against CK. That you have conspired against the state secretary, elected state secretary of Karnataka. So that is gross indiscipline. For that you remove him. And about me also, why accept my resignation, reject my resignation and expel me for conspiracy? You did not do that. Then do you believe in it? Of late I have heard that this accusation has not been repeated often. But this was made at that time. It was exploited to the hilt, this accusation. Another interesting thing I will tell you. 2 senior members who left the party early were re-accommodated. This is an old trick played at the central level also. Whenever some senior leaders leave the party, make them insignificant, and some other insignificant leaders who existed earlier in the party rehabilitate them. Tell the juniors that these are the real leaders, and who left the party are not the leaders. As long as you have a group of bhaktas to believe in such stories, you may get away with it. But everybody starts thinking at some time or the other. Now these 2 people, seniors who are brought back into the organization, let me humorously call them Karataka and Damanaka. The 2 jackals who advised the king in Panchatantra for his own destruction, ultimately. Now, these people also helped them carry out this type of stories. Take the example of Damanaka, who was a state government employee. His wife was an advocate. Now, this man, as soon as we resigned in the party, we resigned on 4th, 9th they had a sort of GB in the name of study class, where indirectly I was called very big names, very, very big names. I was called the Liu Shaoqui of the party, Leon Trotsky of the party. So many things, they sit very heavily on my shoulder, friends. This man, Damanaka, who was in that, who invited him, I don't know. Suddenly he materialized. He wouldn't come to office for weeks together. He materialized on that important day. Who mobilized him? This man told everybody that there was such a conspiracy to remove RK. So the Central Committee has asked the Politburo member who is present in Bangalore not to involve in Karnataka affairs. So this gossip reached Comrade M.S. Prakash, who left the party along with me, a very senior comrade. He was once UTUC state vice president and also once upon a time permanent invitee to the state committee of the party. Prakash came and told me, this sort of gossip is being circulated. Are you aware? He tried to shut the mouth of those youngsters who were talking like that. Now, when I raised it with care, that how dare that man speak like this? Unless somebody has talked to him, because he doesn't come to office at all. His wife doesn't come to office. But on that particular day, both of them were very much present. They were playing an active role in that conspiracy. They propagated this story, this kindergarten story, that the state secretary is going to be upstaged. Who told them this story? Without somebody in authority telling them this story, he or she could not have repeated it. To this, RK was mum. He could not answer it. I asked in front of Pravash Ghosh during our second visit to Calcutta during the November Revolution Centenary Committee meeting. When we went there, we had a separate discussion with Pravash Ghosh. That was the second discussion. In the discussion, I raised that such and such a person, a former district secretary of Bangalore, who is no longer active anywhere in the party, he suddenly materializes in the party GBM or study class, makes this kind of allegation. Then the general secretary immediately turned to RK and asked, who is this man? I am surprised that the general secretary didn't know him. Anyway, he said, who is this man? Why is he talking like that? I said, he is known to everybody. And he is a man who left the party for his own reason. He was a member of RK's center. They had many differences among themselves in center life. RK's wife and Damanaka's wife. RK and Damanaka himself. So they left the center and they found a very interesting plea, very useful plea, that he was transferred to Delhi. The man who inspired many people to become whole-timers here in Bangalore or in Gulbarga, himself, for the sake of his job, at a time when party was in very dire straits, Soviet Union had collapsed in the international level. And in India, communal wave had suddenly erupted. BJP was coming to the center stage. It was 1992 September. At that time, leaving the party in doldrums, taking his wife, he went to Delhi. If job was the reason, coming back, why he did not rejoin the party in full capacity? We offered him to become district secretary twice. He did not take the responsibility, rather went on building property, settling his child as comfortably as possible abroad. This is his nature of activity and involvement. This man has made the charge. I asked him, then I cannot sit with him in any body. We were both colleagues in the party state organ. I said, I cannot sit with such a man after he has made such an accusation on me. Either he is right or I am right. If he is there going to be sitting in that meeting, I will not come. To all these, what was the reply of our then state secretary? Both in front of the general secretary and in front of me when I came back to Bangalore, he kept repeating, don't worry, he will not come. What an evasive answer. I told him whether he will come or not is another thing. But if you believe that he has lied, if you are sure that you have not conveyed this message to him, that there was an attempt to remove you, if your wife has not talked, if your center is not the place from where this lie emanated, then remove him, ask him not to come. Don't tell me he will not come. What is the story he kept telling? Story not, it is fact. On 9th of June, after this so-called GBR study class was over, when RK went back to his center, this lady advocate and husband, they both went there, and she burst into RK's room, telling that all through I knew Casey is very partial, this and that, to which RK, reportedly, as reported by himself, he says, don't talk any of those things. I have no time. So she became very angry and left. So his version is, they will never come back. These people again came back as soon as we left the party. So what kind of nexus was there between this man and our earlier state secretary? Very clear. RK is full of such falsehoods. I can quote many such falsehoods. What happened? Now, after we left the party, several other allegations have been made. One more serious allegation was that cultural movement was stressed and political movement was neglected. Is this a fact? If cultural movement occupied party's time, then in which body was it discussed? Please take out the minutes. You are a communist party. A communist party state committee should have its records. Please take out the minutes of the meetings of the state committee and show me a single instance where the cultural movement was discussed and concluded that it is harming party work. Show me the minutes of a single district committee. Our office secretary was keeping the minutes book. Show me a single discussion where it was concluded. During a major movement, many people can raise issues like that for drama preparation, some other work has been sacrificed at the local level or frontal level. This apart, this will happen whenever two major programs collide. Everywhere it happens. But a serious decision was made or conclusion was drawn that cultural movement is harming, political activity is disturbed. Single minutes of the meeting. Show me. Then where did this conclusion originate? This conclusion originated in the mind of the then State Secretary RK. Why? Was he feeling neglected during the cultural movement? Was he feeling his own inadequacy in the cultural movement? Is it not a fact that his son often tried to steal the limelight in cultural movement and we snubbed him on such efforts? He became aggrieved. He went to father and complained, and then father took up the cudgels. Is it not a fact? One has to look at these things very objectively. For everything that I am telling, there will be at least 10 people who will give evidence. So friends, this was a nonsensical accusation, and I will provide 2 more evidences for it. If cultural movement was harmful, why did Dharwad start its own cultural movement and it went on for not less than 15 years? Why did Gulbarga start a cultural festival, annual cultural festival in which lakhs and lakhs were collected? That also went on for 10 years or so. Raichur did cultural festival every year. Chitradurga did. Davangere started doing. Mysore did cultural festival. In fact, which district? Bijapur did. Which district did not do? Every district, including Tumkur, tried to do cultural festivals. If they were not helpful, if they were not getting cadres for the party, if it was not getting money for the party, if it was not getting publicity for the party, why was it done? Why did the state secretary keep quiet for 20 years, 20 long years? Is it a fact? Along with cultural movement, almost in the same month or preceding month or succeeding month, how many election battles were conducted? And is it a fact that political work in Bangalore was neglected? Let us examine that also. Bangalore stood first in all collections. Rarely I find any city in India collecting such huge amounts from the streets. We were collecting sometimes 40, 50, 60,000 in the streets on special occasions. Every calamity relief activity like earthquake, flood, Bangalore stood first in mobilizing resources. Bangalore was getting the brightest cadres. Why? Not only in Karnataka, at the all India level, those who became leaders, they all came from Bangalore. Bangalore had 3 working local committees. Today they have none. All the local committees were functioning constitutionally, meaning having minimum 3 cells. Some of them had 6 cells, 5 cells, and all were active. Party organ in those days was sold 10 to 12,000 per month. In that, more than half was sold by only Bangalore. And Bangalore was conducting all the technical work, including printing, posting of party literature, party organ, party pamphlets. It was a highly organized unit. It was held up as a model in the whole country. And what about mass movements? Bangalore is the only SUCI unit which had a city level citizens organization, Save Bangalore Committee. Save Bangalore Committee published its own bulletin on the civic problems of Bangalore, and it was 35,000 copies of the bulletin were sold. Twice huge conventions of more than 500 people were organized by the Save Bangalore committee. Save Bangalore committee took up a successful movement against an adamant government which had decided to widen 216 roads in Bangalore. Not a single road was allowed to be widened by our movement. It was our credit. Has Calcutta, where party was born, conducted such a movement? Chennai, Bombay, Hyderabad, Trivandrum, Bhopal, Ahmedabad, Cuttack, Bhubaneswar, Patna, all these places you have party organization, no? In some places even you had MLAs. Assam you had MLAs. Where did a committee like Save Bangalore function? Now you tell a different story and the central leadership is unaware of what is happening here. They have never toured Karnataka properly. None of them have first-hand knowledge of Karnataka. Anyway, their approach is whoever is having majority on their side, let us go with them. That is the attitude of the central committee. That is the attitude reflected by the general secretary. That's the whole tragedy of it. So all these lies go unchallenged. And you have a cadre force in Bangalore and Karnataka, which is mainly made up of either bhaktas or timid, helpless people. Political people, those who are politically astute, those who are capable of fighting the leadership are very, very few. And when they raise their voice, what is done? At once the very same kind of tirade that is done against us is directed against them. You are supporters of Manjunath and Jayalakshmi. They are isolated, they are humiliated. Their own wives and husbands will be pitted against them. So they will close their mouth. They are not satisfied, but they close their mouth. They are frightened. You hold a child inside the party and threaten the father outside. You hold the father inside the party and threaten the child outside. Hold the husband inside, threaten the wife. Hold wife, threaten the husband. These are the tactics. So many people felt not to contradict it. So also you spread an idea that Manjunath and Jayalakshmi were very bureaucratic. They hurt the comrades. Let us take each one by example. What happened after we left the party? Many comrades are so innocent, so timid, and there is a certain political opportunism in many that they will go along with the winning side. When they found that RK, his wife, are very vociferous, they are very aggressive, they are propagating, many people started telling, yes, I was also hurt. It is a kind of mass hysteria. In mass hysteria, nobody likes to be different. Everybody likes to fall in line. So they will also rack up their brains because leaders ask them, were you never hurt? Were you never mishandled? Remember, I think you were mishandled once. All these things I reported to Pravash Ghosh. I told him why juniors are coming to me and Jayalakshmi again and again with complaints is because this gentleman is twisting them from behind. His wife is twisting them from behind. Their center has become the center of conspiracy. Whoever enters there, just like sitting under the Bodhi Vruksha, they will come out enlightened. And what is that enlightenment? Oppose Manjunath and Jayalakshmi. This is the story of accusation of bureaucracy. Another charge has been made that we did not encourage many people to become whole-timers because we had ourselves developed petty bourgeois fears. We did not like confrontation. Now, I will honestly tell two things. One is, I have done my best to recruit many whole-timers and now you have driven them away. All the Kengeri batch almost, we had recruited. They had become whole-timers. Some of them had become almost whole-timers. You have driven them away. And another thing I will tell you, I am definitely, personally, opposed to making all and sundry whole-timers just to increase the number for our photogenic protest demonstrations, collections and sale. I feel many helpless people join the party and if you instigate them a little, they will become whole-timers and then they become burden on the party. Their personal problems are eternal. You need few whole-timers, but those whole-timers should be capable of creating their own work. They must be of the level of organizers. They must be of the level of building up real organizations. They must be capable of theoretical discussion, discourse, challenging the leadership. Unless you find out such people to become whole-timers will become a burden on the organization. Yes, Everybody whom you thought of making whole timers, I did not make. I remember a very tragic story of a girl, not story, episode of a girl. Anybody who comes to the party, we start praising them immediately that they have such and such a positive quality. We overrate them, we inspire them to become whole timers, and then once they start showing their negative, we drop them like hot potato. Now, without skill, without possibility of employment, without education, burning bridges with the family, they have nobody to go, nowhere to go. They go out of the organization. They are frustrated. Sometimes they are mad. And one lady died in very tragic circumstances. I can quote incidents after incidents where leadership has made mistake in recruiting whole timers. They were not material for whole timers. So, out of my 20-25 years experience, in the last decade of my life, I had become very cautious about recruitment of whole timers. It's a fact. I will accept that accusation, and this is my answer for this. Don't make indiscriminate recruitment of whole timers. That's very harmful, and you are playing with the life of others, the children of others, while you protect your own children. This is very unethical, not acceptable. This type of accusations will go on and on and on. Somebody complains that my child was not given chapati in the center. My child was not given Bournvita in the center. When I told all these things to the general secretary of the party, he laughed and said, in my own Shivpur center, all these things are common. I don't think these are to be taken seriously. But why were they made serious points with the state secretary? Because he could not find any serious criticism on me or Jayalakshmi. So he had to find out something and create a rebellion. He created it. This way, there are sillier and sillier accusations. One more silly accusation is that Manjunath dubbed many people as mentally insane, sent them to doctors. Now, this is the story that is suitable for a third-rate crime thriller film or novel. That one leader in the party will designate A, B, C, D are insane, and he will recommend that they should be taken to the doctor. Can anything happen in SUCI without the consent of the state secretary in any district? Will he allow it? Supposing I send somebody for treatment without the consent of the state secretary, will he keep quiet? Should he keep quiet? If he has kept quiet when all those things happened, then is he not number one coward? That he did not raise the issue and fight when it had to be fought? Justice had to be given to some junior who was dubbed as mentally disturbed? He has failed in that. Fact is, nobody has been dubbed like that by me. These are all collective discussions. In the collective discussion, the positive and negative of a comrade are seen. Somebody has gone into depression, somebody is not taking part in work, somebody is getting into quarrels. They need counseling, or sometimes they may even need medicines. And this situation also happens because SUCI indiscriminately recruits people. Many disturbed people who could have very well landed it in any religious organization, they also land up in political movement. Why? This is not a political party exactly. It is a party which operates like a cult, glorifying of leaders, inescapable routine work, cultivating of blindness, cultivating a false superiority within the newcomer, giving excessive attention to the newcomer. All these things pamper many disturbed people. You recruit them, make them whole timers. After some time you find problem, then drop them like hot potato. Or send them to a doctor. Now, after I left the party, Jayalakshmi left the party, how many you have sent to the doctors in Bangalore? Shall we take out the list? In Dharwad itself recently I heard that you dubbed 3 people as mentally disturbed. All the 3 are living very happily now without medicine, without doctor, and they are laughing at your conclusions. They are very angry with you. So this is your disease of dubbing people insane. I have never done it. With my very little knowledge as an intern who worked in Nimans, whenever the discussions came, I have opposed the leaders handling disturbed people. Many of our own leaders are disturbed. How can they handle disturbed people? In such cases, I have said that you are not the man to handle this case. You are a quack. Quacks shall not handle these sensitive cases. These are to be taken to professionals who are educated and trained in that field. If that is my crime, I am guilty. I will say it again and again. If I have a disturbance, I will walk into a psychologist or psychiatrist clinic with my head held high. Because just like physical problems, mental problems can arise. I wouldn't hesitate. I wouldn't look down upon anybody. But I also know that if such people come to the topmost position, what havoc they can create in the organization. I was a witness to it. And that tragedy is still unfolding in their party. Mentally disturbed people taking decisive positions, mishandling situation. The leader accused that Manjunath had CPM influence because during 79-80, I was the SFI president in Bangalore. I had never officially joined CPM. And from 1980 to the date I left SUCI, 2016, 36 and a half years, I was a organizer leader of SUCI. I became a staff member. I became the number 2 in your state committee. I had so many important positions. Now, how did you allow a man with CPM influence, CPM inclination to remain in your party holding such high positions? Do you believe in this accusation, comrade? Now this RK has moved so craftily, I tell you. Wherever it suited him, he made the Politburo member CK the villain. With all of them, he highlighted the weaknesses of CK. With people like MS Prakash and many other people, he said, you know, CK never trusted Manjunath because Manjunath had CPM influence. Which of the two versions is true, comrade? Previous state secretary. Where do you stand? So much for this accusation that I was a man influenced by CPM politics. RK in 1 GB after we left the organization boasted that he has brought back 22 valuable gems who had left the party. Who are those gems? I will only give 2 examples. I have given the example of Damanaka. I will not repeat it. Now let us go to the other senior member. As I said, I will call him Karataka. Who was this Karataka? Karataka was a central government employee, remained a central government employee till retirement, took no risks. Both Karataka and Damanaka, working in central government and state government, never organized anybody, did not become active in even their own employees' unions, did not bring a single person into the party. This Karataka married outside the party, never brought wife to the party work, never influenced her. His 3 children, all the 3 children were never involved in the party. Same thing with Damanaka. Even after returning to Bangalore from Delhi, never involved the daughter. Why? Why you did not involve? Because at some time you got involved in the party, and now after post-retirement also, just like people visiting temples, you often come to party office, I have heard. But are you real revolutionaries? Organizing something. This man failed to change his family members, failed to bring them even, made compromises with them. This is the version given to me by RK, the previous state secretary. This Karataka even went on to accuse Shivdas Ghosh that when Shivdas Ghosh came to Delhi, in the railway station he was given an arati. Because of this kind of practices, he is leaving SUCI. He also said that SUCI is Brahminical. So I am leaving. These are all the versions which we heard in the state committee from this very RK state secretary and Damanaka who had accompanied him for the discussion. This Karataka applied to join the party again about 1.5 years before I left the party. This letter came in a mail and RK came and showed me. Shall we allow Karataka to come back? He's asking. I said very much. Very much, such a senior member. Why should I was never afraid of him. That we cannot handle him. I said we can handle him. But RK did not bring him. Why? After we left, he has brought both Karataka and Damanaka and similar people who are exhausted, who left the party for their own reasons, and most of them were fought and sent out by RK and his wife. Several of the people who left were from their own center. Who were used against us in this fight? 2 members from our own center. One, I will call him as IT engineer. and his wife. Another as engineering college professor and his wife. And the third one, I do not know what to name him. He is a permanently aggrieved party. So we will call him the aggrieved party and his wife. These are all the instruments used against us. Now, the IT engineer had purchased a building for us, which was used as party center in Palace Guthali. After we left the party, a rumor started that that building was sold without consultation, without discussion in the state committee. An utter lie. In fact, we never wanted to sell that center. Though we were highly dissatisfied, there were many problems in that building. But a person who was residing in Rajajinagar and his wife, who was an artist, they both came and proposed to us that if party is ready to buy, we are ready to give our building worth 2 crores for 1.7 crores. This proposal I told to RK that shall we buy this? He is offering, though we don't have that much money, how to mobilize we should see. He said, no, don't buy from that man. Out of emotion, he will offer many things, but he is a very aggrieved man. Tomorrow he will develop grievance against the party. All through, since the time he joined the party in Tumkur, he is an aggrieved man, carrying many grievances against leaders. So don't buy from him. But what you say is true. Your center, I never approved purchasing it. It's a very bad building. Sell it off. This is the thing told by the state secretary to me. He should tell me on his word of honor whether he said it or not. After I left the party also, I asked him. He said, yes, I had told it. I was for selling the building. Then I said, then why even that Dharwad man is talking everywhere that it was not discussed in the state committee? And this man, IT engineer, is blaming me for selling the property. He was a 46-year-old man. He signed the sale agreement. He finally signed the sale deed. And his brother, the engineering college professor, was with him in all these transactions. I was not there. We were there when the party was finalized after 2 years of search. During these 2 years, everybody was involved in that. How can you make such an accusation? Then can you believe what the state secretary told me? He said, he's a very unstable fellow, property-minded fellow. His words you need not take. I said, I will not take his words, okay. But why are you allowing those rumors to spread? He said, I cannot control. He is a boy brought up by you. You are responsible for his limitation. Wonderful answer. Please go and tell that man that this is how you have understood him. Anyway, these and sundry. There was one more property issue in Mysore. The secretary there had a mother who was sick. She had many serious problems. He was the only son. Looking after her, he was coming very late to the party office. He was not involved in the party. He could not go out of station, always caring about mother. Then we discussed both mother and son, and we moved the mother, a very unconventional decision. We moved the mother to our party center. We shifted a small kitchen what was there and accommodated her there. She was very happy with us. Then out of some problems, she went back home. Now we discussed in the Mysore District Committee whether a new building can be built there and mother will be accommodated in the district and the district leader's mother, and our organization will also occupy a particular floor. But he agreed. He even went to a lawyer, consulted with what safeguards this can be drawn. He went with his wife. Both of them are still leaders there. They shall come and tell me in front of me honestly whether what I am telling is true or not. He started telling in the name of his maternal uncle that he is not agreeing, so I cannot transfer property or I cannot make any suitable agreement. So the project was hanging. Then when the state secretary RK came to Mysore in a meeting, he told the state committee member and previous Mysore district secretary that you are a slave of your maternal uncle. Such language has never come out of my mouth to anybody. This man accused him, you are a slave of your maternal uncle. This is the real story of the controversy in Mysore. Many small accusations, and some of them are very dirty. No decent man would like to discuss about it, let alone a communist. How they could talk like that is a wonder for me. Then one episode, let me tell, last episode, that is regarding Maralakunte. There was a land outside Bangalore, about 52 kilometers from Bangalore. A very good comrade who came from Kengeri. He had huge properties in that area. He gave us 3 acre 30 guntas free of cost. So we discussed, we decided in the presence of the Politburo member and state secretary, we decided that we will build a center there. Every state committee member of SUCI has visited that place several times. Several camps, party schools were held there. Then how can it happen without the knowledge of the entire party? Today they are accusing that the Maralakunte property issue, only Manjunath's decision. So they returned that valuable property to that buyer. Wash their hands clean. Why? They said that immediately the property should be transferred in the name of party trust. Now, what was the land law at that time? That an agricultural land cannot be sold, cannot be gifted to anybody who is not a family member and who is not an agriculturist. We had made a trust in the name of Vidyasagar. So that land has to be shifted to the trust. That is a lengthy process. It has to start from the village accountant, then go to deputy revenue inspector, deputy tahsildar, assistant commissioner, district commissioner. Again second round from top to bottom, again from bottom to top. In fact, to speed it up, we even met Pa Mallesh of Mysore, asked him to influence the government and see that this process is speeded up without bribery. But it takes its own time. Now our leader, who is incapable of political courage, taking brave steps, was frightened. After all, we had spent how much money? Very little money. That boy was spending a lot of money on that land. We had spent some amount. 3 times that amount we had collected for that institution. When I left the party, 26 lakhs I have left with the party, giving 5 checks. Not a single paisa has been spent for anything else. Now, this was such a beautiful project. An institute of Marxism-Leninism, also a place to train youngsters, children. Its plan was beautiful. All came to the inauguration. All of them have planted one coconut tree there. There was a huge inauguration program in which all the state ordinary comrades of SUCI participated. Now, how do you accuse that Manjunath alone did it? Then what was the state secretary doing? Sleeping for 5 years. When this project was on, what were the other state committee members doing when this project was on? This is an utter lie. By doing this, they have not only lost me, they have lost the boy who was ready to donate all that. He was ready to donate much more valuable property. You have destroyed that boy's confidence. What is the consequence of all this? The consequence is 56 people have left your organization since the time we left. We will try to run the list and you will be able to see the list. If I am 1, Jayalakshmi is 2, Prakash is 3, Simadri is 4, this way, from the date we left, 56 people have left the organization. It includes very important people who worked against us. The very people you used, at another point, they developed very serious questions about you, and in their heart of hearts, they know that the fight we did against the leader was right. They have suffered after we left. And there are some people within the organization, even now, who are suffering from the same problem. They are unable to fight it decisively. This will go on. After we left, the son has become more uncontrollable. Why? Because you started projecting him. To get him married early, you brought down the age bar in the party itself. There was an unofficial age bar. That if 2 people fall in love also, the love should be steady for 5-6 years. After 28 or 30 or 32, they shall be married. Everything was reduced for his sake. His marriage program, once conducted in Bangalore, another time in Gulbarga, second time hiring a hall of 80,000 rupees, spending something more on that, making it a huge celebration. People, particularly state committee members, attended the program in Bangalore, Secretariat Club, then again went to Gulbarga to attend the same program. And two people flight from Bangalore to Gulbarga. Now, this kind of nonsense, has SUCI heard in any part of India? Will the SUCI Central Committee members answer these things? You projected him. He has become a bigger problem. Many youngsters have left. They are so angry with the boy as well as parents. They would someday publicly castigate these people. Not just boys, girls. All the serious problems that he was manifesting earlier repeated itself. And it has perhaps become more difficult to handle now. So friends, this is the story. All the accusations against us exploded after RK felt cornered regarding his son. Nobody would have removed RK. Nobody would have removed his son also. But his wings would have been clipped. We had started clipping the wings, and that's why they became upright. So an entire conspiracy was hatched and many people were involved. But how long you can keep falsehood? It started stinking. There is a beautiful story of Sharat Chandra, which SUCI leaders are very fond of quoting. That is a short novelette called Nishkriti. In Nishkriti, the eldest daughter-in-law of the family is Siddheshwari. She is a very naive, innocent type of lady. The last one, daughter-in-law, is called as Shailaja. She is very frank, forthright, fighting. In between, there is a very scheming daughter-in-law, Nayanatara. Now, Nayanatara wanted to separate Siddheshwari and Shailaja, and she did all crafty things to separate them by putting suspicion in the mind of the elder sister. Then Shailaja did not even defend her case. She just, out of her sense of self-respect, she left and walked out. But what was the result? This eldest sister-in-law, naive, innocent, one suspicion was planted in her mind. She started doubting Nayanatara herself. So RK stands in the position of Nayanatara. The innocent cadres are like Siddheshwari. They believed him up to a point. They participated in ousting us from the center and the office. But then they started getting questions, suspicions. They are very angry now. One by one, among all the 56, except one or two cases, all the rest have talked about the misdemeanors of the son and the protection given by father and mother. So, my friends, this is the story of the conspiracy which happened in 2016. One last question many youngsters ask me, comrade, you should have stayed in the party. Had you raised these points, we would have stood with you. We would have fought. Actually, they are naive, very innocent. A centralized party to fight the leadership is not easy. The moment you start a fight, you are isolated like a foreign body. Anybody who comes near, they are also isolated. So this fear of isolation. And already, conspiracy has reached such a stage that our entire center was confused. 10 people were confused. Several more people were confused outside. All the forces arraigned against you. And they have ensured that CK, the Politburo member, who has passed away, who knew everything about Karnataka, and he was targeted because he did not support the state secretary. Rather, he held our points to be correct. The points raised by me and Jailakshmi were correct. That's why he was targeted. He is not there. They have ensured that he cannot interfere. So, in any general body meeting that will take place, the verdict is already written. So, it's a futile exercise. So even at the time Jailakshmi felt that the party is good. Some leaders are wrong. So let the party survive. Let it improve. Why start an open fight which will destroy every youngster? And we cannot take it to its logical end. Every person who has left the party should answer this question. Why did he leave? Why couldn't he have stayed there for another 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, continued the battle? It's not possible. And here the role of Provost Ghosh should also be understood. Provost Ghosh, in spite of his apparent neutrality, has played a role which I find very difficult to explain. First time I meet him in February, he completely supports my view, asks me to help RK and his wife because they are wrong. They are going in a wrong path. Next time I go to meet him in June, he refuses an appointment with me. After I resign, he makes emotional calls, tries to keep me inside. When we finally decide to leave in September, he calls from Hyderabad, where he was there to attend the program of a brother Communist Party, that you shall not leave. Please don't divide the party vertically. These are his exact words. And I gave my word of honor that we will not do any such thing. Then he repeatedly told me over phone, after I left the party, that I will come to your house when I come to Bangalore. He came to Bangalore in the last week of January. His program was to stay for 10 days, January 2017, 4 months after we left the party. He told me, before he came to Bangalore, he told me, I am coming there. I will visit your house. I like to meet you and Jayalakshmi. Why he did not come? The story that was dished out was that he developed high BP. Of course, it may be true. On the 9th day. So last 2 days program was cancelled. But the moot question is, 8 days you have listened to others' complaints. You have even held meeting of the state committee and district committee members. But you did not find time to call us. You did not find time to visit us. Comrades who wanted to speak on our behalf were craftily not allowed to come by RK. What more, there is a very interesting development that in a meeting, Provost Ghosh said that I like to go to their house now. He gave many examples that even in Russia and China, renegades were treated by the party leadership, brought back. RK said, with great difficulty we have ousted them, don't bring them back. So please don't go. 1 or 2 members, important members from other districts, slightly raised the point that let Comrade Provost Ghosh go. Provost Ghosh asked, is it not right for me to go? 2-3 people supported him. But the Bangalore coterie, led by the then State Secretary himself, asked Provost Ghosh not to come. This is not to absolve Comrade Provost Ghosh's responsibility. He should have acted differently. If he is a truth seeker, he should stand with even minority. Not only that time, he has never contacted again. He has never shown a keenness. Then what was the purpose of his visit? His purpose of visit was, he knew that me and Jayalakshmi were very important comrades. How many people would live with them? If many people are not living with them, then better I go with the majority. The very kind of calculation a bourgeois or petty bourgeois leader does, he also did the same thing. So, I think I have covered most of the points. But if this kind of machination and conspiracy is not to happen in a party, the party has to be democratized. That's the only solution. Party has to be democratized. True democracy, ability to speak freely about your leader. A leader who masquerades himself as a very big man, very ethical man, very good man, but deep inside is very vulnerable, carries all the human frailties, has got many peculiar behaviors. Now, all these things shall not be understood by the comrades, argued, fought. If that doesn't happen, then democracy is not living in the party. When democracy is not living in the party, conspiracies will take the place of open discussions, debates, committee meetings, and constitutional functioning of the party. Every rule of the constitution and party rules have been violated. Code of conduct has been violated during this conspiracy. So, is there a lesson for the left movement? Definitely. Democratize the parties. Don't demonize people who leave the party. Be truthful about them. Place the views and counter views honestly before the cadres. Try to see that you lose no valuable person. Try to see that honest attempts are made to build the party and keep everybody, unless they have become truly anti-party. Whomever you don't like, don't name them as anti-party. These are the lessons. I think these lessons are to be taken. We on our part, wherever we have said something wrong or behaved something wrong, we feel very sorry for it. We are ready to repent. I have said it many times in public. I owned my mistakes. But what happens to the party leadership, which has done 100 times bigger mistakes, which has harmed the organization? So I feel it is never too late to think over these things, draw lessons appropriately from it. So watch the video carefully. All the documents that we have put out, see carefully, draw your own conclusions. And if you have any criticism to place to us, you're most welcome. Thank you.